This is Steve from Big Frontier. We're in New York City at the Algonquin Hotel speaking with Jim Joseph, author of The Experience Effect. Jim will be a Big Frontier speaker on May 27th, 2010. And Jim would like to discuss the experience that he's going to provide the Big Frontier audience when he comes to our fair city in a few weeks. Tell us a little bit of what you have in mind, Jim.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Steve. I'm very much a believer that marketing is a spectator sport and also a team sport. In fact, I talk about it in my book just that way. So I would like to come to Chicago and meet with you all and have a little bit of fun talking about marketing and talking about brands and really have an interactive session where we dissect some of the brands that we think have the best experience effect, kind of why we think they are so powerful, and really do a bit of an analysis together on what makes those brands so great. I'll offer up some examples. I'll ask you to offer up some examples, perhaps some good examples, perhaps some not so good examples, and really as a team dissect what we think works and what we think maybe doesn't work.
Jim, should people contact you in advance for any reason? Should they be sending you questions, sending you things to think about? And if so, how would they do that?
They certainly could. I have a website about the book, and there's a place on there to send me a note, so certainly could do that, and I'll give you the URL for the website. But I think just come prepared to the session to talk about brands, the brands you love and why you love marketing, and maybe some of the challenges that you're facing with your own brand, and we'll talk about it as a group and discuss it.
Jim, you discuss celebrity in your book. Naturally, that begs the question of Tiger Woods. Who loses in that equation? I mean, there was a lot of money spent on and time spent developing brand equity in Tiger for brands like Tag Heuer and for Accenture. Tag Heuer is not going to go anywhere. Accenture is not going to go anywhere. They're going to bounce back. Clearly, they've lost a little momentum in terms of the marketing dollars they spent. Tiger's got to, redo his game. Maybe he'll start working for Durex now or something. But my question is, when you invest in a wild card like a celebrity, even somebody as supposedly as bulletproof as Tiger, is that necessarily the best way to come up with something that epitomizes your brand? And in the instance of Tiger, who pays the price at the end of the day?
Well, I think ultimately at the end of the day, who pays the price is the consumer. The consumer has developed a relationship with a brand, a relationship of trust. On some level, they've incorporated it into their life because it adds value, and suddenly they are faced with, in this case, a scandal that kind of rocks that connection. So I think ultimately, I know it sounds sort of contrite, but I think ultimately the consumer loses. But aside from that, it is very tricky to have a spokesperson represent your brand. You, as well as you may know that celebrity and you may think that you understand their brand, you don't necessarily know all of their future activity or all of their past activity for that matter. So it has to be very well chosen and very well thought through if in fact you're going to have somebody represent your brand. You want to make sure that their brand matches the values of your brand.